episode 23 here of the Bullpen, and I think we got a pretty big week up here, or coming up here with some Illinois baseball. I mean, I know this is, again, going to come out on Wednesday, but Monday night, it's going to be Lincoln Way East versus Lincoln Way West, Bauer versus Essenberg on the mound. Pete, I know you're going to be at that game, so that'll be an exciting one, but how you guys doing? You having a good weekend so far? I know we were out at some games on Saturday, so.
Yeah, really good week. We don't get too many weekends to watch golf, but I had a great time watching the Masters. I know this is a baseball podcast, but I just thought that was one of the best, more entertaining Masters in a long time, since probably about 2019 for me.
No, that was absolutely electric. Hammond, I know you and me were kind of texting back and forth because I didn't get home until like later in the day. I was out of town, and just seeing like the last 5 or 6 holes was just unreal, and then a playoff on top of it, like absolutely electric. Shout out to Rory, man, got that career grand slam. Last person to do that was Tiger, so he's certainly in a rarefied air. But no, it was awesome. Great Masters tournament all weekend.
And one thing I wanted to add, I don't know what it was like up in the Chicagoland area for you guys, but I was down in Monticello on Saturday, and I went to the game. It was like an 11 o'clock game. I got there at 10. I was wearing my winter coat, and I had our like zip up under that as well, and a long sleeve under that. Because it was cold in the morning. I get to the game, I start taking my coat off and the zip up, and it gets really nice out. It's probably 65, 70. I get home from the game, and I look at my neck, and it was just super red. And I'm just glad that the weather's turning to where it's getting warm out and where I can get sunburnt when I'm out at games, because I'm tired of the cold, I'm tired of the wind, so hopefully it stays that way here for a while.
No, that's a great call, because I was up in Madison actually watching a game for our Wisconsin staff, and I severely overdressed. I was wearing like 2 sweatshirts, a vest, and I also brought my winter coat, but I was wearing it. But even with what I had on, I was sweating during the game, which is a great problem to have. Rather have to take layers off than throw a bunch of layers on. But no, weather looks like it's, knock on wood here. It's hopefully turning for the better, and shouldn't have too many more cold games we're all going out to. So, yeah, looks like spring's finally here.
All right, so yeah, kind of moving over to college stuff just from the weekend. I know I saw some nuggets, and Illinois State had a series here at home, and I was honestly kind of bummed I wasn't able to get out to any of their games. I was thinking about going on Saturday, but it just didn't work out. But I'm ready to go watch some college baseball some weekend when ISU's home and I'm around to get out and see them. But yeah, with that being said, Illinois State swept Evansville this weekend. And with that, they're 8-2 in their last 10 games, 9-3 in conference. They're second behind Mo State. And Dan Pasella has 155 career RBIs. He is now 4th all-time at ISU behind Seth Von Barron, Brad James, and then Ryan Duncan. And then Shai Robinson is hitting .308 for them with 7 home runs and 31 RBIs. And then Illinois won their series over Indiana, and they are 5th in the Big Ten at 9-6. I'm trying to see here. In their game on Sunday, Vitas Valencias went 3 for 5 with 3 doubles, 7 RBI, and 3 runs scored. And on the year, he's hitting .362 with 6 homers, 45 RBIs, and 12 doubles. And Colin Jennings from a Marist product is hitting .338 with 8 homers, 33 RBIs, 5 doubles, 2 triples, and 25 runs scored. And then Ben Plumlee from Lane Tech is leading Illinois in strikeouts this year with 39. So just a couple Illinois guys doing some good things down there at Illinois, actually.
Love to see that out of Ben Plumlee. He might have been around a little bit before you guys, because I'm thinking he's on his 4th or 5th year there at Illinois, but he always had like some of the best arm talent in the state, and it took him a while to harness it. And he was actually like a very late uncommitted prospect. Did not commit to Illinois until, I want to say, like maybe his senior spring, but he was a late commit. And then to kind of see that he's stayed there, he's worked his way up, and now he's leading the team in strikeouts, that's an awesome story to hear.
And SIUE, they won their series over in Lindenwood this weekend. They are 3rd in the conference, the OVC conference, at 8-4, and then Western Illinois won their series over Tennessee Martin. So some good stuff here from some Division I programs. And Hammond, I see you got a nugget on your squad here, your alma mater.
Yeah, D2 action here. Lewis, they took 3 of 4 from Quincy, so some interstate D2 action. They're number 24 in some of the polls right now. I know some of them have them at 18 as well, so it just kind of depends where you look. But they're coming off a 4-game sweep of ranked Davenport at the time, who was having a really good year. But yeah, now they're sitting 28-8 overall. They're 17-3 in conference, and they're actually first in conference. So I think it's mathematically impossible for them not to be in the tournament right now. But hopefully they can make a regional or something. That'd be pretty sweet. I don't know the last time they've done that. Maybe 2014, I want to say.
I have a D3 nugget, actually, and oversight on my part. Should have mentioned this last week because this was last week's poll for D3 baseball, and it hasn't been released yet. But U Chicago was ranked 21st in the country for D3, so big shout out to them. Unfortunately, it looked like they lost their series against number 24 Case Western this past weekend, so I don't know if they'll still be ranked. Case Western is really good program. Actually in Ohio, played them a bunch when I was at Wittenberg, so have some familiarity there. But yeah, shout out to the Maroons.
Yeah, so looking over here at some of this high school stuff now, before we get into the Power 25, just a couple shout outs to 3 coaches who had some milestone wins this past week. Coach McCarthy over at Lincoln Way East won his 300th game on Thursday. Coach Rockweiler up at McHenry won his 400th game on Saturday. And then Coach Stone over at Dunlap won his 400th career game on April 10th. So congrats to those coaches. It's a big honor. Happy for them. But looking over at Power 25, Drew, go ahead. I'll let you maybe kick this off with a kind of opening intro to our Power 25 after our update this week.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned those 3 coaches hitting those milestones. Love to see it. I know Coach McCarthy's been around a long time. He was at Brother Rice for a while, then at Homewood Flossmoor. Now he's doing it at Lincoln Way East, and he's got a nice little left-handed arm there to kind of head up his rotation, touching some 102s this spring. And Coach Stone, I know before Dunlap, was at Metamora. And then Coach Rockweiler's had plenty of talent come through up there at McHenry with Bobby Miller and plenty others. And now he's got Brandon Shannon and Caden Wisniewski in his dugout. So he's going to collect a few more wins here this season. But yeah, Power 25, every week is very different, looking at the Power 25. How many teams are going to get in? How many teams are going to rise? How many are going to maybe fall or sink? And it all depends on, who won and lost and by what margin. And some teams have like really, really strong weeks in the Power 25 where you can't do a whole lot because everybody's winning. And then sometimes it's just, you get an array of like, hey, there's 5 teams that went undefeated. There's 5 teams that went 500. And then there's 5 teams that lost every game. I felt like this week was pretty straightforward. You did have some unique things going on, like Edwardsville. Went out to North Carolina for the NHSI and played some of the toughest teams and best teams in the country with some of the top draft prospects. And they had a tough go of it, but I know we still like them. But really just, I guess, before I get into the top, 2 new teams entered the Power 25 this week. Sometimes there's a little more, I guess, room for more teams to get in. This week, really only 2 teams warranted getting in with how strong the Power 25s were. At number 23, though, Downers Grove North. They're 11-1 on the year now. Tyler, before the call, I think you mentioned it, but I think they lost their first game of the season. So basically, they've rattled off 11 straight wins since. They've gotten their pitching going, from what we can tell, and seems to be a really, really complete lineup. They're actually a team we still need to get out and see this year. And then at number 25, we have Hersey jumping in. They're 9-1-1. Played a lot of tough games. But what I like with them is like, just if you look at, on paper, they have 2 aces basically that are leading their staff. And Keegan Luxem, who's going to UIC, and then they've got Lincoln Cosero, who's going to Xavier. Both of those guys are seniors, plenty of experience under their belt, and they've kind of been leading the way so far. They've got a couple good wins under their belt as well. I don't know if anybody has those right in front of them. But their one loss for Hersey as well was
Hampshire. And it was a 1-0 loss at that. And Hampshire's ranked within our top 10. So
thank you. It was I was losing grasps of what I was going to say there, Tyler. So coming in, saving the day. Their one loss being a Hampshire, a top 25 team, just speaks to how well they've been playing. So those are the two new teams in the Power 25. And then leading us off at the top, we have the same team kind of headlining the list here in Lincoln Way West. Lincoln Way West, they went 3-0 on the week. They beat Stagg twice, but they also kind of had a statement win over Lincoln Way East. They are now, I guess, just on the week, they outscored opponents 37-4. They're still undefeated. They've got Connor Essenberg and Michael Pettit leading the way on the mound. They got Lucas Acevedo as well, who's doing it kind of like Essenberg with the bat and on the mound. A lot of things to like with that club. So, not my best intro to the Power 25, so thanks for bearing with me. But what else we got, guys?
Yeah, moving down right behind them, we got Libertyville sliding up 2 spots to number 2. They went 3-0 on the week, and they only allowed 1 run the entire week. So, I mean, that's why we liked them initially on paper is the pitching staff, and it really looks like that's kind of what's been leading the way for them. And obviously they got some bats throughout that lineup as well. But, yeah, I mean, they're off to a strong 13-0 start. Not surprised at all. So, sitting at number 2. And then right behind them, go ahead.
Well, no, just before you get on to Brother Rice, ultra impressive week for me here, looking at Libertyville. They beat Stevenson 11-1. And then they shut out Barrington 4-0 and Elk Grove 4-0. Like, what wins in high school baseball? Like, it starts on the mound, and they've got tons of it. And they've got enough offense. So just kind of wanted to put a little more color on that. But man, Libertyville, like, we were high on them before the season, but I would say they've even kind of exceeded expectations so far. Going to be fun to watch here as we get into conference, really into the thick of things. But keep going here with number 3.
Yeah, we got coming in at number 3, Brother Rice. They're 11-1 now. They're up 2 spots as well from number 5. They played 5 games and they won all 5 of them. They scored 62 runs on the week. So far they've outscored opponents 116-43, which is pretty wild. And they're on a 9-game winning streak so far. So kind of a no-brainer.
What they're doing is crazy. Like, they are really, really starting to swing the bats. They put up 15 runs twice, and then they put up a game where they had 22 runs. And then they also beat Lyons Township 6-1, which is a really quality win. We know the arms that Lyons has. And their toughest game on the week came against Chicago Hope Academy, who's putting together kind of a strong campaign in their own right. But they knocked off Chicago Hope 4-3. But man, Brother Rice, I know we've gotten like the eye test on them. They've got all kinds of bats in that lineup. They're going to be a scary team here moving forward.
Yeah, and like the sophomores are performing, right? Like they got some big names throughout that lineup that are like high level prospects, but there's, not always do the prospect level like players perform to just like a good high school player, if that makes sense. Like there's some teams that are just like the players are maybe not like the highest prospect status, but they perform and they put up numbers, and like the prospects, like they're going to pop in a few years and they're really high level, but there's like swing and miss, or there's a part of their game where it's just not maybe there yet. But like these sophomores are really seeming to come into their own and perform. So that's like really good to see and really scary for opposing teams that have to play them.
Well, I'm going to touch more on that Brother Rice Lyons Township game later, but from what I've seen so far this spring, like Brother Rice, top to bottom, all around, has been probably the most impressive team I've seen so far this spring. Just like you said, their lineup, their arms, like everybody's just performing. There's star power all throughout that roster. So I'll touch more on them later, but yeah, they're up to number 3 now. Checking in at number 4 is McHenry. Also saw them last week, up 2 spots. They had a 3-0 week. And what's going to be the story with the Warriors all spring is their pitching, right? We've touched on. They've got a Brandon Shannon. They've got a Caden Wozniewski. They allowed just 1 run all week last week. They also shut out who's number 9 now, Hampshire, 2-0. We'll have a little bit more on that game as well later, but super impressed with McHenry. They'll have another matchup tonight that we'll be at. This is on Monday, so they play Huntley again tonight. So that's what I got with McHenry.
They remind me a ton of Libertyville too, Tyler. Like just some of the best arms in the state, letting up hardly any runs. they win, like they don't really put up those 15 runs like Brother Rice, but they seem to win convincingly, and it's kind of the low scoring. If they can get to 3 runs, they've got a great chance of winning. If their offense can just scratch across a couple runs. So definitely a team we're high on. It's kind of proven to be exactly what we thought they'd be this year. And all right, and moving on from McHenry here, we got Naz jumping up to number 5. They're 14-0 on the season. They're up 2 spots. They went 3-0 on the week. I mean, they've played some close games. They've had their fair shares of like having to come back or having to, maybe walk off on a team here and there. But if you actually look at the season in totality, they're outscoring opponents 107 to 21. So they've had their fair share of big wins and taking down opponents. But I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can do once they get into that ESCC, Eastern Suburban Conference play, where you've got some really good arms, you've got some tough games. And we'll see. That's going to tell us a lot about Nazareth because they still are sitting there. They're undefeated. They've got Landon Tomey, is our new number 2 prospect in the 26th class. They've got Jaden Fowski. They've got Mac McGarry, who's been throwing the ball really, really well. Like we've seen him nominated for Player of the Week constantly, and a number of other guys who are stepping up. So new to the top 5, I guess I should say, in the Power 25. Naz making some noise here at 14-0.
Yeah, and then kind of looking at a pair of Southern Illinois schools, a team from Central Illinois in the Power 25 at number 12, O'Fallon. They are 11-1. They're up 4 spots. They went 4-0 last week. They allowed 3 runs all week, and they beat Muscuda, a pretty good team down there in Muscuda. Father McGivney is at number 14. They went 14-2 on the week. They're up 1 spot. They went 5-0 last week, and they allowed 6 runs all week. And they have outscored opponents 148-30, and they're currently on a 12-game winning streak. And then number 16, Normal Community, they're 11-3. They're up 2 spots, 5-0 week. They've outscored opponents 110-41. They're on an 8-game winning streak, and they're 6-0 in conference. So good stuff from those teams down here outside of the Chicagoland area down south.
Yeah, and then up 3 spots is St. Lawrence, up to number 17. Another team who's really seemed to turn it on as of late. They're on a 5-game winning streak. I know the week they came back from their Florida trip was kind of just an up-and-down week, but they're getting hot at the right time. CCL Blue play starts for them this week. I know today on Monday and tomorrow Tuesday they play St. Ignatius, so they're getting right into the thick of things, and they've got 3 talented junior arms and Sam Chin, Ryan Wolschlager, and John Sturkowski. So keep an eye on the Vikings for sure.
Then I'm going to get in here on the next 2 teams that are kind of rising, making some noise. You got number 18, Lamont. They're up 3 spots. They were at number 21, but they're 7-2-1, starting to kind of build up their resume. They just hadn't played a lot of games compared to some of these other teams. But this past week, they outscored opponents 33-3. 2 big wins over TF South, and then they knocked off Richards as well and Plainfield East. So actually went a perfect 4-0 on the week. And right behind them was a team I was lucky enough to see on Saturday, Fremd. They're at number 19 now. They're 8-0-1, and they had a pretty convincing win over Glenbrook North at the game I was at on Saturday. They also knocked out Glenbrook South 5-3 on the week. Really scrappy team. I like the look of them. We can definitely get into them more as we go through teams later on in this episode. But those were just 2 teams now in the top 20 that are kind of working the right direction.
Yet another team that had a really impressive week was Lincoln Way East. I know we touched on it last week, but they took 2 games from Andrew, and Andrew coming into this past week was just scoring a ton of runs. And listen, Lincoln Way East right now, the way they're pitching the ball, they've got Jack Bauer, who we've touched on a bunch. Cooper Johnson's a really talented sophomore who's throwing the ball really well for them, and then also Jack Tamer is a name we've been seeing a ton of who's throwing the ball really well for the Griffins. So 2-1 week, wins over number 17 Andrew, and then they dropped a tough one last Friday against Lincoln Way West, but they'll have a chance to even up that series tonight.
Yeah, that score will be determined by the time this episode comes out, which is always a little unique doing this podcast. And it rolls out Wednesday, and there's a lot that happens between now and then. But I'm going to jump in here with another undefeated team. You got DePaul College Prep. They're 14-0, just like Nazareth. I talked on them a little bit. In full disclosure, like they're a team we got to go see. We know some of their guys on their roster, the Benny Espinosas of the world, the Vance Kurakawas, the Addison Lackos. And I'm sure I'm missing a couple there, just kind of rattling them off the top of my head. But it's impressive. Like I just pulled over their scores from the week. They went 3-0. They didn't give up a run. They beat St. Francis 4-0, Leo 10-0, and then Wilmot out of Wisconsin 2-0. So they're clearly pitching it, defending. And they're in that CCL Blue, which I know we kind of tossed around last week, which side they were on. So they're going to get tested. Like we're going to find out a lot about them in the coming weeks, going through that gauntlet of a conference. But yeah, they're a very, very interesting team on this list that we'll learn more of here over the coming weeks.
Then I can hop in here. Oswego at number 22. They went 4-0 on the week, and one thing that kind of stands out about that, they only gave up 3 runs all week, and all 3 runs actually came in one game to a 4-3 win over Wabansie. I mean, they're kind of more of like an offensive heavy team, I would say. Outscoring opponents 104-42 on the year, but I mean the pitching, stepped up big this week, and yeah, sitting at 11-1 now, and up a couple spots.
All right, let's kind of take a look now at the scores from last week, some notable highlights that happened. On Monday, Normal West beat Urbana 19-1. Champaign Central beat Richwoods 12-0. St. Anthony beat Mahomet Seymour 5-0. Morton beat Canton 7-0. East Peoria beat Limestone 6-4. So good stuff on Monday, but I mean, if you guys got any nuggets, feel free to hop in.
Just those pitching performances. You mentioned a couple of these games, like Champaign Central, they're throwing a freshman, Ryan Pipkins. And he struck out 5 in 5 innings pitched. He didn't allow a walk, a run, and he gave up 1 hit. So could have said that better. But to me, that's like really, really impressive. A freshman getting a start, and then to just be pounding the zone clearly, leading the way there for Champaign Central. And then you've got Brock Fearday. He was 2A Player of the Year last year for St. Anthony. He threw a 7-inning complete game, struck out 8, 2 walks, no runs, just dominating. And then Ryan Schaffnet again for Morton. He just keeps doing. He's going to make our life really, really hard with these Pitcher of the Week submissions. Because he is, to me, one of the strongest performers so far to start off the spring. There's probably a couple other names you could throw in the mix, but Ryan Schaffnet, if you're talking about Pitcher of the Year for this year, put that guy towards the top of the list because he threw a complete game shutout, 11 Ks, 1 hit, no walks. East Peoria beat Limestone. You got RJ Dunch in there, Illinois State commit, former future gamer, striking out 10 in 5 2/3 innings. So Monday to me looked like the day of the arms. Love to see it. And that is kind of how this works. A lot of these conference matchups, they start early on in the week. So that Monday, Tuesday, you're going to see a lot of these aces throwing. But that's what I had on Monday. And then I see as we're going to get in here on Tuesday, we had a couple other good arms too, Gavin.
Well, yeah, and Drew, actually one thing I wanted to mention too with the Normal West game, I went and saw them, and I'll talk about their game coverage here later in the week or later in the episode. But I saw them, and Torrin Delaire, he hit a home run in that game. I saw him also hit a home run against Bloomington this past Friday. And then Chase Newth was a single shy of the cycle, went 3 for 3 with a homer, double, and triple. But yeah, on Tuesday, number 6 beat number 10 Hampshire 2-0. Sacred Heart Griffin upset number 14 Glenwood 10-6. And talking to their coach a couple weeks back about that game, he was talking about how it's a very it's going to be a chippy game, big rivalry for them. Kind of the schools have a lot of dislike for the other school, so I'm sure that was a fun one. Mount Zion beat Effingham 4-1. Evergreen Park beat Argo 3-2, and then Galesburg beat Limestone 3-2.
To me, the most impressive thing from Tuesday, not only did number 6 McHenry beat number 10 Hampshire 2-0, they no-hit Hampshire. If you want to know how good McHenry's arms are, Brandon Shannon goes 6 no-hit innings, strikes out 14. Zach Reedy comes in. He's a 2025 going to St. Xavier, who I'll actually touch on later. He seemed to have just a great week on the mound in general, but he then closes the game out, throws a hitless inning. So just goes to show how impressive McHenry's arms are from top to bottom.
Well, Andy Antonacci too. We just saw him, right? He was up to 93. And I know he kind of sprayed it a little bit that day or struggled. It looks like he bounced back in a big way. 5 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, and punched out 8. So I mean, that's a really good bounce back for him. And then moving down to the Effingham game, Sam Driscoll, one of the better two-way seniors in the class that we like a lot on both sides of the ball. He threw 5 innings, struck out 7, and he also had 2 hits at the plate with an RBI. So good week for him.
Well, and I love
And
that
then
call
I
out
wanna
because I just
go
think
ahead.
Mount Zion in general is a team we all have to keep our eye on. They're 9-2 on the year, and you mentioned Sam Driscoll, like he's a difference maker. They also have Andrew Tay on the mound. They also have Connor Fox. Like they're a team we're gonna need to get out and see. That's got a ton of interesting pieces for me.
For sure, and I'm actually looking up their record right now. But Evergreen Park, they're 13-1, so they're a team we kind of need to keep an eye on too. And we are keeping an eye on them, but just so the listeners know.
Absolutely.
And then Michael Rodriguez, he threw a complete game, struck out 9, and only allowed 3 hits and walked 0. So good outing for him. They're just a team that seems to be putting up an impressive win basically every day. It looks like in the roundup.
Yeah, and looking over at Wednesday, number 16 O'Fallon beat number 12 Mascoutah, big Southern Illinois matchup down there. They won 14-1, so really notable win, and I think that's what really elevated their that O'Fallon moving up the Power 25 this week. Cary Grove beat Burlington Central 1-0. Limestone beat East Peoria 3-0, big win there for Limestone. Fieldcrest beat Tri-Valley 2-1, and Westminster Christian beat St. Edwards 4-3. And just a note in that Limestone game, Alex Williams threw a complete game with 7 strikeouts, 1 walk, 2 hits, and no runs. And he's a guy that we've mentioned multiple times on this podcast in the daily roundup for Nuggets. And I don't have his season stats on the mound, but I would be curious what he is doing this year because I feel like the stat lines I keep seeing, it looks like he keeps getting some wins. So good stuff there for Alec.
Yeah, another one that stands out to me is that Cary Grove game with Charlie Taxi. I mean, we know Cary Grove, the Fox Valley, is what it is. It's one of the best conferences in the state. So a 1-0 win from Charlie. I mean, that's big time, especially against a good Burlington Central team. Complete game shutout with 11 Ks. He's kind of been the ace of that staff for a couple of years now. So just really good to see him still shoving over there.
Well, just in general, some of the things that are sticking out to me seeing these stat lines are just these strikeout to walk numbers, which in high school is really impressive. I don't care if it's Little League, travel ball, high school ball, college ball, like Charlie Tazzy, 11 strikeouts to 1 walk. Brandon Shannon, 14 strikeouts to 1 walk. Sam Driscoll, 7 Ks. I don't see a walk listed here. Like, I don't care. That means you're around the zone a ton. A ton. And, like, think about Brandon Shannon. He's got power stuff, right? Probably sitting in the mid-90s with his fastball. He's got a gross splitter. He's got a good slider to go with it. Like, so these guys have nasty stuff. Charlie Tazzy the same way. So to me, that's really impressive for these high schoolers to just be around the zone that much at this level is really impressive.
Yeah, just right. We're all pitchers except for you, Drew. Sorry, but just throw strikes, right? Like people fly out in BP all the time. Just throw strikes. Like I probably did it a little too much, where I'd get like 0-2 and throw it right down the middle. But that's just me. But like, just pound the zone, man. Kids are gonna get themselves out. That's something that grinds my gears. But we're not gonna get into that right now too much.
Well, as someone who wasn't a pitcher, being a shortstop, defenders like pitchers that throw strikes and keep the ball in play, especially when it's very cold out early on in the spring, like a lot of these games are in the Illinois region. Throw strikes, keep the defense involved, and let your defense work. Because, yes, there is nothing worse than sitting there watching guys get free passes.
Yeah, and another nugget just to add to Alec Williams, I found his stats, and this is coming off of Max Preps, but he threw 29.1 innings so far this year. He struck out 35, walked 6, and has a 1.91 ERA. So he's kind of acing that staff for Limestone. So just a name to know for that team as well. Moving over to Thursday, or go ahead, Hammond, if you had anything. Sorry. Okay, moving over to Thursday, number 23 Lincoln Way East knocked off number 17 Andrew at the time. Metamora walked off Washington. They won 3-2. Wilmington defeated Mantino 2-0. Sherrard beat Rock Ridge 3-1, and then Putnam County beat Hinckley Big Rock 11-0. So yeah, I think the big nugget here that I wanted to mention, a couple things. Drew Ledecky delivered a game-winning RBI in that Metamora game. Aiden Terranez in the Sherrard Rock Ridge game through 6 innings, struck out 13, walked 2, allowed a run and 2 hits. He's going to UIC. He is the ace at Sherrard, big lefty that we've seen up to like mid-upper 80s, I believe, at a tournament last summer, I think is when I saw him. And then Putnam County, Jonathan Stunkel, a guy we talked about last week, that had a good pitching performance. He struck out 9 in 4 innings of work in their 11-0 win over Hinckley Big Rock.
One nugget I wanted to throw in, Gav, is I just want to shout out Cooper Johnson for Lincoln Way East. It seems like this kid's just had a great spring on the mound for the Griffins so far. I know he showed really well for me at preseason All-State on my mound. I really liked him a couple weeks ago when I saw Lincoln Way East. So it's always nice for what we do when these guys come to showcases, right, and they pop and they show really well. But that's just part of the puzzle. Then you see how well they perform in the spring. It just really helps validate what we initially see in those showcases. So shout out to Cooper, man. He's been throwing the ball really well all spring, and I'm sure we'll probably see him again down the line.
Well, how big is that for East to not have to rely on Jack Bauer, who's on an innings limit likely anyway? You know what I mean? To have multiple arms that can perform like that is huge, and that, you know, it speaks to why they're ranked where they're at.
Well, and you
right
guys
now.
mentioned Jack Tamer for Lincoln Way East earlier in the episode as well, and he was a guy we saw last year. Hadn't seen him early this spring, but he goes to PBR. He goes to the Lake Point facility down there where Jack Bauer kind of made his waves. But we saw like his velos from that performance down there at Lake Point. He's up to 89. And it's a long levered frame. So, like, they've got a lot of pieces there, kind of hence why they're a Power 25 team now. And they've got a tough one today against Lincoln Way West, like we mentioned. So we'll see what happens there, by the time this episode rolls out. But, yeah, Lincoln Way East has a lot of good things going on. And they have that catcher, Jacob Newman, that can, handle those arms on the staff as well.
Yeah, and then taking a peek over here at Friday's games, not a ton going on. I know we will talk about some games on Friday that we were at because I think all 3 of us were out, and myself, Hammett, and Defaball, I believe, on Friday. But anyway, just a couple nuggets. Number 1, Lincoln Way West defeated number 23, Lincoln Way East, 8-2. Belleville East defeated Mount Vernon 13-0. And in that game, Reed Newmeyer went 4-for-4 with a homer and 4 RBIs, and his homer was a grand slam.
I'll touch on the Lincoln Way West win over Lincoln Way East. Lucas Acevedo, 3 1/3, scoreless, struck out 5, but also in that game, Drew was just touching on him. Jack Tamer, 3 innings, 1 run. It was unearned, but only gave up 1 hit, 0 walks, and struck out 5. So just 2 really good pitching performances that stood out.
Yeah, and then him, kind of looking at the player and pitcher of the week from last week. I know we had some big performances out of Connor Essenberg, who was the player of the week, and then Zach Toma, who was pitcher of the week, and he actually set some records, had some school history made at that game, so I'll let you kind of touch on them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for the player of the week, we went with Connor Essenberg, and that was just kind of, he was down at Lake Point, put on a show, went 7 for 16 with 2 home runs, 3 doubles, 10 RBIs, and 6 runs scored. He also walked 3 times. So, just a big week for him. I know Ian Smith was kind of blowing him up on social, but, one of the better two-way prospects in the entire state. And then following up with our pitcher of the week, Zach Toma. He set multiple records, like he said, fired a 7-inning no-hitter, punched out 20. But the thing that stood out when I was digging into that one, he had a perfect game with 2 outs in the last inning, and then a drop third strike ended the perfect game, kept the no-hitter, and then allowed him to get the 20th strikeout. So just kind of a wild way for it to end there. It stinks he couldn't get the perfect game, but 20 Ks and a no-hitter, not too bad, so I'm sure he'll get over it. But yeah, he set the school record for strikeouts in a game with 20, and he also set the school record for punching out the most consecutive batters in a game, and that was 15 in a row at one point. So he also threw 70 out of 90 pitches for a strike. So like I was saying, throw strikes, good things will happen. But yeah, good weeks for both those guys.
What I love about it too is he just put himself firmly on the list. We need to go see this guy. Digging into his profile after you see a performance come across like that, where it's striking out 15 guys in a row. I don't care who you're playing with. That is ultra impressive. But he was up to 84 last summer. He's a left-handed arm, and if he's throwing that many strikes, we need to see what this guy's all about. He's a 2026. He's uncommitted, and just any left-handed arm that's performing like that, you got to go see that because that's one of the highest commodities out there.
That performance is very, very similar to what I saw 2 years ago, last year, with Josh Vaughn over at Illini Bluffs, who's now at Bradley. Very, very similar stat line there. So, and I think he actually won player or pitcher of the week for that same performance.
I really thought for a second you might have been going down the rabbit hole if that reminded you of one of your performances. I was really hoping so.
Oh, no.
That's where I thought that was going to. Just 20Ks every week, yeah.
No. Nope. I
yeah,
wish.
Right? 15 strikeouts in a row. That's awesome. Yeah. Zach Toma, West Aurora, big time performance there. Well, and what I love about this is this kind of leads into performances that were noteworthy around the state, right, Gavin?
Yeah, so looking at the Diamond Notes, we post this every Wednesday. I know we mentioned that a lot, but just wanted to continue to give that love and shout that out because it's an awesome story where we highlight players that did not get the player or pitcher of the week. We highlight them and what they did the week prior in the Diamond Notes story. But yeah, just kind of taking a quick look at it. Right-handed pitcher Reese Bolin from Staunton. He's a 2026 through a complete game, shut out with 7 strikeouts and 2 walks. It was actually a no-hitter. So good performance there from the kid down in Staunton. Sebastian Reyes at St. Rita, 2025 through 6 2/3 innings, struck out 13, allowed 2 hits and no runs. Kind of going down the list here. Reed Murray from Alton, a 2025 through 5 innings, struck out 9, walked 2, allowed no runs and no hits. And then Anthony Farina from Lockport, a 2027 through 5 1/3, struck out 6, walked none, allowed 3 hits and 3 runs against Manuka. And then Landon Corbin from Normal Community, a 2026 through a complete game, 5 innings, struck out 7, walked none, and allowed 2 hits.
Yeah, I'll hop in here. A sophomore that's been making some noise for Downers Grove North, Colin Doyle. He threw 4.1 innings, punched out 10, walked only 1, didn't allow a run, and only scattered 3 hits. And he's like super long levered, like 6'6" at least, and it looks like he's throwing strikes, and he's been a big reason that they've been throwing the ball well and having a good start to their year. And then moving down, Gavin Triesenberg. I mean, he's just been having a great year from what it looks like. I mean, I saw him once, and he took multiple at-bats that were really impressive. Was on the barrel. I know he was on the barrel again in front of Tyler. He had an impressive home run. And then this past week, he was 7 for 11 with 2 doubles, 3 RBIs, 4 runs scored, and 3 stolen bases. So good to see him keep hitting. I mean, he's one of the better defenders in the state. Was a standout from our preseason pro case. I think that's a potential pro guy, whether it be he's getting looks this year or down the road, but he's really interesting for me personally. And then for Andrew, Caden Kendall, he's kind of their cornerstone on both sides of the ball. He threw a complete game with just 1 earned run, scattered 3 hits, and struck out 10. So Kane Kendall, I mean, the Kendall brothers, they both are really good prospects over at Andrew, and I know they've both been, kind of the cornerstone pieces for that team over the last couple of years.
Well, and you kind of, Caden did it on the mound here in the Daily Roundup, but, they're known for their bats as well. I feel like they've been really, really hitting so far for Andrew, and it's been a great start to the year. I'm just, kind of eyeing a couple nowhere, Grady Davis for Belleville East, 5 for 7, but then he also went 7 2/3 on the mound and 2 relief appearances, and Belleville East went 5-0 on the week. Just teams that kind of caught my eye, they are now 10-3 on the year. So just a team down there that we need to keep an eye on in the St. Louis area. You mentioned Gavin Triesenberg and what he did with the bat, and what I love about that is he does so many more things on the field that impacts the game. I'm not going to steal all Tyler's thunder because I know he saw Brother Rice play. And you meant Colin Doyle, what a huge piece for Downers Grove North. To give them that arm to kind of just help solidify that staff. I know they have Zeroli and some other guys, but really making them a dangerous club here to help rattle off those 11 straight wins.
Yeah, and then going back to Triesenberg for 1 second, actually, my former coach, Mike Vusko, he texted me the video of that home run from Lyons Township, and I've long respected Mike's eye as a scout, and I've always thought he was a good evaluator. he just said this looks like a big leaguer. Like the amount of ease and like just how easy the swing was, and it was a home run. It was just like, yeah, I mean, and then he moves like the way he does at shortstop. Like it's a left side guy in the infield with power in the bat. Like it's hard not
For
to
sure.
like.
And I know Coach McBride likes him over there at Brother Rice. He's been a mainstay, up the middle of that defense for a long time and in the middle of that order.
Yeah, so kind of turning the page to our game coverage from last week. I know the first half of the week kind of was cruddy weather, so we weren't able to get out. But on Thursday, Hammett and Tyler, you guys were both out. So what do you got on your games?
Well, staying on the theme of Brother Rice, you guys kind of teed me up really nicely here. But yeah, saw him Thursday. Beat Lions Township 6-1, and just man, the entire Brother Rice starting infield for me was like my biggest takeaway, just all the way across the infield. Let's start with Triesenberg. Was starting at shortstop. Super mature approach to his game. Like I just feel like the way he acts on the field is so mature and advanced beyond his years. If you watch that video that I posted on Twitter of his home run, like he hit the home run, it was like he didn't even care. Like the celebration was like, okay, I'll do the celebration. But he seems like a kid who doesn't want to, make it about him, more about the team. Like, hey, we hit that home run. It wasn't like me. I don't like the spotlight being on me. And you kind of see that defensively too. Like he's really good defensively. It's maybe not as flashy as the next guy I'm going to talk about, but it's just as good. It's very polished in my opinion as well. So moving over at second base was Jackson Natanic, and kind of told these guys on Friday after the game, it's like for as long as I've been doing this, he's got to be up there for me of like just some of the best pure glove I've seen since doing this. You watch him during IO, and he's just picking everything. If there's a bad throw, he picks it, makes it look like it's nothing. He made a really impressive play up the middle later in the game, up the middle, deep in the hole, turns around and fires like it was nothing. Got a speedy runner out at first as well. He also hit a homer in the game as well. Really like Natanic's overall game. Just seems like a total spark plug type of player. At third base, had Aiden O'Hava. Was all over the barrel for me. He's going to Eastern Michigan after this year. Hit a homer in the first inning, which was a back-to-back off of the next guy I'm going to talk about. But really mature approach at the plate. Just seemed like he had a very concrete plan on what he wanted to do every time up. Was just all over the pitching. It didn't matter who was on the mound for Lions. He was all over it. Then at first base was Brady Cunningham. This kid, I feel like, just continues to trend up for us. He's only a sophomore, but he's part of that sophomore crop that, Hammett, you were alluding to earlier, have like arrived for Brother Rice. Yes, he's highly regarded as a prospect, but boy, does he back it up with his play. Again, I touched on it earlier. It's one thing to see these guys show well in showcases. It's a whole nother deal to see him show out in game, especially on varsity. His first at bat goes the other way with a outside fastball, sends it out to the right center field gap for a homer, and just has another guy who just seems very mature for his age. Just really continue to like the bat. It's hard for us because it's like I don't know what I like him more as a bat or as an arm long term, because then he comes in and closes out the game for Brother Rice. 2 dominant innings out of the pen, struck out 5. Fastball was 86 to 88. Hammond, I think you might have had him a little firmer earlier in the spring. No? Okay. But it was 86 to 88, but just getting a ton of life and carry through the zone. Was also spinning a sharp breaker for me at 74 to 77 as well. So continue to just be really impressed with Brady Cunningham's overall game. Also for Brother Rice, Braden McKendrick got the start. Really good outing. Super efficient, was limiting hard contact throughout the game. Pitches with some bulldog mentality, which I love to see that out of arms. Especially when it's not forced. It seems like that's genuinely who they are. Really love to see that out of Braden. He got out of a couple big jams in the game. But yeah, he was 83 to 86 with his fastball. Ton of arm side run. Like, feel like a lot of those lefties get that like natural tail to it. But also had a big breaking curveball. It's 70 to 74 that he could throw for strikes in any count. Also was like kind of his out pitch on this look, but he struck out 8 over 5 innings, and that was my first real intimate look at McKendrick, and I was just really impressed. He seems like a very solid and steady arm to have towards the top of their rotation for Brother Rice. Moving over for Lions Township, I'm going to go a little half and half here because the one player I really want to talk about is going to be my prospect of the week this week. But for me, for Lions, it was Blake Ragsdale. I haven't seen Blake in a while. Was around him a lot when he was a junior future gamer back in the summer of 2022. And just to see how much better he's gotten since then, like, obviously, right? Like, he was 13 or 14 years old then. But the actions he was showing me on defense was like as good as it gets. That is what it's supposed to look like for a kid who's going to TCU as of right now after his high school days are over. Like, so polished, so athletic. The glove, like, Lions Township's a natural playing surface, right? It's not turf, so you don't really know what type of hops you're gonna get. Looked so comfortable. His arm was playing out of all sorts of arm angles. It plays well on the move. And he's got some sneaky juice across the infield too. Like, it's not a super intentful arm path, to get the ball to first base. So really like Blake. He got on base. He got hit by a pitch in his first or second at bat. His first at bat. Gets on first, like almost immediately, still second on a lefty. Then he ends up stealing third as well. So really like Blake's game. I was really impressed. And then I'm going to touch on my other standout from Lions later for my prospect of the week. But that's what I had from Thursday.
Cool. I can move on to Joliet Catholic and Bishop McNamara. Joliet Catholic ended up no-hitting Bishop McNamara behind Lucas Grant. Lucas Grant, he didn't throw the full game. He actually got pulled with 2 outs in the last inning, which kind of hurt my soul a little bit being a pitcher, but it's for the better. It was the right decision. He was at like 96 pitches or whatnot. So, but he ended up going 6.2 innings, no hits, no runs, just walked 2, and he struck out 17. It was a really good look at him. I mean, he's long been the starter profile with 3 pitches, 88 to 91 with some sink, and then he'll flip the little bullet slider in there around 80-81 for a strike. And then the changeup was really kind of the go-to that day, really selling it with his arm speed and playing with some bigger depth under the zone at like 81, 82. But it's a starter profile. Throw strikes, like I said, with 3 pitches, super high-waisted, long legs. I think that kid is nowhere near where he's going to be physically. So there's a lot to like there, especially, seeing him in a few years at Purdue. I think he's got a chance to be another, potential draft. But moving down, Callahan O'Connor got the ball for Bishop Mack. Didn't have the best day statistically, but I still really liked it. I mean, he was 86, 89, touching 90. He was not missing the zone by much. Like, if you actually look at the line, like, he had a few walks, but he was not spraying it by any means. Like, it was around the zone. It's just some calls didn't really go his way. But he was around 78 to 80 with the slider. It was a good offering, solid offering, and then the changeup was a little firmer at 83, 84. But, I mean, he's every bit of 6'6", 6'7", super long levered with an easy operation. I think his best days are still ahead of him. And then moving back to JCA positionally, Lucas Simulik, I mean, he's just a guy that we've seen a lot this spring that we all really like. I mean, we're all big fans of the glove. And the thing with him is, like, the bat was always kind of a little bit behind. But at least to me, I feel like the bat is really starting to tick up. It's a lot more simpler at the plate. The timing's a lot better. He's able to stay on the breaking balls now. It was just a really good all-around look. And then Ian Campbell, who's also been one of their main arms on the year. He's a 2026. Apparently a big-time football recruit as well, like double-digit offers apparently. And he was on the barrel with a couple loud singles. So he's just like a freak athlete, which a lot of those JCA kids are, like those two-sport, like football, baseball guys. But yeah, Ian Campbell, another strong look at him.
Yeah, and then one thing I forgot to mention too is that we had our guy Dane Poe down in Southern Illinois for Monday through Wednesday to catch up with some games. He saw number 12 Muscuda on Monday beat Belleville West 7-0. In that game, Austin Musso threw 5 2/3, struck out 13, walked 3, allowed no runs and no runs and 1 hit. And then on Tuesday, he saw number 9 Triad in Collinsville. Triad won 14-1. Keegan Sipe went 2 for 3 with a homer, a double, 6 RBIs and 2 runs scored and a walk in that game. Hayden Bernruder went 2 for 3 with a homer, a double, 3 RBIs, 2 runs scored and a walk. And Drew Winslow was up to 92 in that game, struck out 3 in 3 innings. And then on Wednesday, he saw Waterloo and Valmeyer, and Waterloo won 16-1. Colin Lindhurst for Waterloo threw 4 innings, struck out 4. Also went 2 for 3 at the plate with a double, 2 RBIs, a run, and a walk. And then if you guys have anything you want to add more to any of those games, feel free.
I mean, first off, it was a really good look at Andrew Winslow. He's a guy that plays basketball. It takes him a little time, coming off the basketball season to get into baseball shape, but he was in the zone. He didn't walk anybody in his 3 innings. And it's a unique slot. If he starts working that slider, like that's a guy that's going to be an awesome, awesome piece for Triad because we're super high on them. And every time we see them, we just, like them more and more. They're 11-1. Like you look at what they did last week. I'm just looking through the scores right now. Like they beat Collinsville 14-1. They beat Centralia 10-0, and they took down Granite City 2-1. Like they're really, really pitching it on the year, and they've got one of the best offenses I think in the state. So that's just a team in general that just keeps doing it for us. And like you mentioned, Hayden Bernruder, like he was really good offensively when I saw him, and he's just continuing to do it. I know Dane got a good look at that too.
Yeah, so moving over to Friday's game coverage, we were all out at games. I went to a game over at Normal West. They played Bloomington, and Normal West won that game 7-1. Really, the game was all Normal West offensively. I think it was the 3rd inning. They scored 3 runs. Bottom of the 4th, they scored 4 runs. Cooper Temples, it was their shortstop. He's a 2025 going to North Central. Really opened up the game with like a 2 RBI triple. It was a near homer, and honestly, it didn't look like he hit it that hard, but it just kind of went out deep right field. He got their offense going there. They collected some hits and RBIs in the bottom 4. Solo shot from Torin Delaire. He was a guy that we mentioned earlier that hit a home run against Urbana earlier in the week. But, yeah, he had a home run that kind of got that inning going for them. And then they had some hits and RBIs kind of added to that total. Sam McCauley, he's a catcher, 2027, was batting 5th for them. He looks the part behind the plate and behind the plate catching defensively, and then at the plate, right-handed hitter too. That he didn't really collect any hits, and I don't think the stat line's going to show much for him. But just I like the movement patterns for him at the plate. So he's one to watch for down here at Normal.
Well,
and then for Bloomington,
yeah, I just love hearing that because that's been a name that we needed to cross-check off the winner. Yeah. Tyler mentioned it, like, hey, we see these guys in showcase. This is what the spring's about, cross-checking them in-game. What do they do on the field? How do they compete? How do they look? How do they handle, a breaking ball or just handling pitchers, throughout the game if you're Sam McCauley being the catcher? So that I love that, that he kind of showed what we thought he was.
Yep. Yeah, and then Bloomington had a shortstop. 2027, Blake Alferink, I think is how you say his last name. Thought he was pretty interesting. At the plate, he's a right-handed hitter, showed some bad speed. He collected like their only RBI of the game in the top of the 7th on an RBI single to the left side. And then defensively, I just thought he showed some actions during I.O. Just kind of looks like an athlete out there and just kind of wanted to keep an eye on for Bloomington. But really, the main thing from this game that I wanted to touch on was Chase Reinhardt. Left-handed pitcher, 2027, in my opinion, probably one of the top in the class still. I don't know where we have him slotted at currently. I know we're updating the rankings this week, but the velo was not as high as we had seen it in the past. But just the compete factor, the ability to attack the zone with his fastball and slider. I loved his demeanor on the mound. Like, he showed me that he knows how to pitch. And to mix, like how he mixed up his fastball, slider, and his off speed, like, I wouldn't say he had command, but he definitely had control of his pitches, like just in and out of the strike zone on right-handed hitters and left-handed hitters. Like, I was just very, very impressed in the composure that he has on the mound. It's just like he's just so confident in himself, but it's like a quiet confidence. He's not super loud. He's not, running off the mound and screaming, but he's just a very like calm, cool, and collected kid on the mound. I loved it. I really did. The way he moves, it works. And then talking to Normal West coach over there, he was saying before the game that I think on the year he only has walked like 2 guys or something like that, and I'm not sure how many strikeouts, but just not a ton of walks. He throws a ton of strikes. He did get into some 3-2 counts. He did walk some guys on Friday, but I don't know. He's a really good arm. I was really impressed with him.
I love to hear it, Gavin. He's been a guy that kind of has been on my radar for a while now. I was able to see him last summer. He was pitching up, playing for a summer team, and I think I was there to watch Gavin Michaels playing on the same team with Gavin Michaels, and it's kind of the same thing. Like, it was lower 80s velo, but just all day strikes, any pitch in any count. And then I just watched as you were talking. I'm watching the video on him, and yeah, it's a short, quick arm from like that 3/4 slot. Breaking ball's got great shape to it, and then just like even the body type, like looking at him with the still shot in that video, like he's got the long high waist. I think he's going to get a lot stronger. I think the velo is going to come. Just you look at the way it works, the athleticism, how the quickness in the arm. He's been up to 87 for us, and I think like, hey, he may be a guy that just you got to wait a little bit on the velo, but he's going to compete. So you love to see it.
Yeah, and one more thing, just talking to Coach Hawk over there at Normal West before the game, just giving love to the Normal West team a little bit here. He was saying that on the year so far, I'm not going to have the exact numbers, so do not quote me on this, but it was something like over 100 strikeouts for their pitching staff and under 30 walks for their pitching staff. So pretty good stuff there. They're throwing a lot of strikes, and he said that's kind of been a big factor for their program so far this year. So good stuff from Normal West. But yeah, go ahead, guys. I know you got some games to touch on here.
Yeah, and then my game Friday was number 6 McHenry taking down number 19 Huntley 6-1. Story of the game for me is good old Caden Wisniewski. Just feels like this kid, every time we see him, just shows well. Whether it's with the bat, on the mound, or both at times. Got the ball to start for McHenry and was showing me all sorts of polish for that age. Showed real feel for 3 pitches. Was 87 to 89 early with his fastball, a lot of 88, 89 in that first inning, but really pitched more at like 86, 88 throughout the rest of his outing. Was getting over 2,500 RPM on his fastball. Had carry, had life through the zone, especially early. Was also against righties spinning in a tight slider at 75 to 77 that he had control of, and he could throw it really in any count. To me, what was impressive was also just his changeup, that he was kind of throwing exclusively to lefties. It was 83 to 84. He would even front door to those guys at times, which to me at that age is pretty impressive. But he had 9 strikeouts over 4 innings. I think another thing that really stands out with Caden is just his demeanor on the mound. It's a very steady heartbeat. I don't know that I've ever seen him show any emotion in a good way. Like it could be bases loaded. I just walked in a run and it's like 0 emotion, or I could have just struck out the side, 0 emotion. Which I think at that age is really impressive. Things got a little hairy for him in 1 inning. Bad play behind him defensively, and then ended up walking in a run. But it was like, whatever. Like, I'm just going to go right back at the next guy. I'm not going to sit on the mound and sulk about it. Like, it's whatever. And then he ended up coming out and finishing out his outing really strong. So, continue to be really high on Caden Wisniewski, as is everyone on this staff. But moving over, Carver Cone, who is currently our number 1 2028 in the state. Feel really good about that. Right now, obviously it's really early for those 2028s. We don't go super crazy with ranking those guys. It's so early for them, but feel really good about having Carver at number 1. Just the look in the box, his actions defensively. We've known him as an athlete. Hit a grand slam his second at bat. Kind of looked like it was going to be just a sac fly for him out to left field. It ends up carrying out. for a grand slam. Was doing some digging and sent this note over to Gavin and Pete actually, but he's already got 3 bombs this year, and he's not the biggest kid in the world right now. Which to me, as a freshman, to do that on varsity, I think is really impressive. Like McHenry's been playing pretty good competition all spring, so to have 3 bombs that early, to me is really impressive. But offensively, what really stands out are just some of his takes in the box. Seems to have a pretty good understanding of the zone for that age. Minimal chase, right? So just really impressed with Carver. I know I'll see him again tonight, so excited for that to see what his encore outing is. But Jeffrey Schwab, just a quick nugget on him, was starting at third base for McHenry and could really pick it over there. Made some really impressive plays at the hot corner, just coming in, grabbing a short hop. Just some minor things that you don't often see out of high school third baseman unless they're super highly regarded as prospects at that position. So wanted to shout out Jeffrey there. I thought he played third base really well for McHenry and probably saved a run or two for him at times. Zach Reedy, kind of mentioned him earlier when we were breaking down scores from the prior week, but came in to close out the game for McHenry and really picked up right where Caden Wisniewski let off. Was pretty dominant. 6 strikeouts over 3 innings. It's nothing super overpowering. He just throws a ton of strikes. Fills the zone. He was 83 to 84 with his fastball, but spun in a tight breaking ball at 71 to 73 that got a lot of hitters to chase it. Played well off his fastball, so I really like Zach. Thought he threw the ball really well. And then for Huntley, TJ Jakubowski, just kind of an all-around impressive showing for me. I really liked TJ when I saw him last spring, but saw him playing second base and just hitting last spring, but now he's taken over the shortstop position for the Red Raiders, and defensively he looks apart there. He's a 2025 going to Bradley after this spring, and really like the look in the box and on the infield. Seems like he's got some real moxie and swagger about him, which I feel like he was kind of more of maybe a shyer player. I don't know if that's really the right term to use there, but seems like he's coming out of his shell a little bit as he's gotten older. He's a senior leader on that team. He's a captain, but he also came out on the mound and threw the ball really well. Kept McHenry at bay, kept him off the scoreboard for a few innings. Struck out 3 in 3 scoreless innings. He was working his fastball 84 to 87. He kind of looks like a shortstop on the mound. Right, he's pretty athletic. The arm really works up there. So I just thought that was interesting. I didn't even know TJ pitched, and then he came on in relief and threw the ball really well for Huntley. So that's what I got from my game.
That fires me up about TJ Jakubowski because I had no idea he pitched either. I know his older brother pitched and pitches. Now he's at UIC. He was always I think he's a low sidearm, maybe even submarine type there at UIC, but. Man, if TJ needs a backup plan, shortstops that pitch tend to work out pretty well. They tend to have feel, and he's clearly got some arm strength. Just getting out there, being 84, 87. If you guys are cool with it, we can move on to Saturday. Saturday, I was able to get out to a game. Fremd was a team we had talked about on the podcast. Hey, they started out really hot. They've beat some good teams. We moved them up to number 22 in our rankings last week, but we needed to get out and see them. So got out to their home field, saw them play Glenbrook North. One of my biggest takeaways walking up to Fremd was I had never watched a game there. Really, really awesome setup. They've invested some money into that park. The brick backstop that they have is really, really nice. The netting around the field, because it is kind of... There's a neighborhood right behind them, so they've got the high nets to try to block the foul balls from going into backyards and stuff like that. But just a really nice looking field. The windscreen in the outfield, a really enjoyable game to be at, and I'm sure the sun and 60-degree weather and light winds also helped because it was a beautiful day as well. But man, just initial overall takes from Fremd was I just really like their team top to bottom. When looking at their position players, everybody in the outfield is left-handed. They all hit left-handed. You don't see that very often, just a ton of left prospects. As I got, through my game card and I'm writing down lefty and righty on every hitter, they end up having 5 lefties in the lineup. Their last 3 hitters in the lineup are left-handed hitters. So just a really good mix there. And then at the top, they've got Chase and Cooper Nelson that hit 1-2 in the order, and then they both play up the middle on the infield. Chase is a 2026 who leads off. He was playing second base, and then you've got Cooper, who's a 2025 going to Wisconsin Parkside. He plays shortstop and hits in their 2-hole. They can both really defend. Cooper really looks the part at shortstop. It's an athletic frame. He's an athletic mover. He's got the actions on the infield. So like they're very, very solid up the middle of the field. Chase is actually going to be my prospect of the week here, so I'm going to save anything else on him. But then just going down the list on their team, like in their 3-hole is probably my favorite player I've seen this spring. I haven't been out to as many games as you guys have, but between the Kickoff Classic and a few others and then getting out here, but Johnny O'Brien, he hits in their 3-hole. He plays center field. He is a 2026. He's actually committed to Northwestern to play football and to be a quarterback. I know Northwestern got Jack Lausch a couple years ago, a standout baseball player from Brother Rice, who's also a stud quarterback. They're kind of doing the same thing here, getting a Chicagoland quarterback, who also is a super interesting prospect. And just watching him on the field, we had seen him his freshman year. He came in the winter to our Aurora preseason ID. Was ultra interesting as a position guy, but I loved it even more on the mound. Like it was low 80s with a ton of feel. I thought it was going to be like top of the class type of arm one day. Well, since then he has put on a ton of quality muscle. He's 6'3" and flat, looks the part in the uniform. To me, if he didn't play college football or was going to Northwestern to be a quarterback and wanted to just work on baseball, like that's a draft follow all day, every day. He can really run. And I say draft follow on the baseball field. He's a center fielder. He can really run. He fills out the uniform. There's bat speed for days at the plate. Like he was facing a lefty for Glenbrook North that was a little lighter velo and stayed on everything, took good swings, good takes. And then Glenbrook North actually went to Ethan Bass late in the game, so I got to see an at bat against Ethan Bass, and Bass was 88-90, and O'Brien took even better swings against the velo. Like it was almost like, all right, like now here we go. I've been waiting for this. Was all over the fastball. Fouled one off, singled the left, ran the bases really well, like stole a base, really good cut to the bag at first, rounding the bag on a double. You can actually see it in the video that we tweeted. But very, very in on him. And like, just for Fremd as a team, Johnny, he's very focused on football. I think for him just coming out and playing baseball was a huge plus for Fremd. And to have him in their lineup and in their roster, because he's just a position player. He's not pitching. He's focusing on being a quarterback. But man, was I in on him. And then Fremd had 2 lefties that I saw throughout the day. Both were sophomores. Miles Minier, I don't know how exactly you pronounce the last name, but it's Minier. Longer body, longer frame, like high waist, long, loose arm action. Was pitching in the upper 70s, but could really pitch. Like was mixing in a breaking ball. I think that's going to be like a low to mid 80s guy in a couple years, and definitely a college arm one day. So I liked him for them throwing him on a Saturday in a non-conference game. Pretty in on Miles there. And then they came in with Robbie Seifert after him to throw the final inning, and he's a little smaller stature, but short, quick arm, kind of like that mid upper 70s like Minier was, and could pitch a little bit, like had a breaking ball he showed. So curious to see like Fremd's top arms. I know Jack Kreifeld's one of them, and Will Graba as well, who plays third base. But those were just a couple things that I had on Fremd. Like they're going to be interesting. They're going to be tough because I mentioned these lefties they have at the bottom of the order, but like there's also a ton of seniors on that roster. It's all seniors with a couple juniors sprinkled in. So like they seem like they're going to be a tough out. They can all kind of do a little bit of everything. They can bunt, they can run, they can hit and run. I feel like they're well coached, just kind of watching watching how they operated. So a really high quality look at Fremd. I liked what they have. And then just moving over to Glenbrook North, a couple nuggets. They do have Ethan Bass at Glenbrook North. So not only are we getting a look at Fremd, a team we hadn't seen, but we're getting a look at our number one 2026 in the state, committed to Wake Forest. Man, he's just a really good baseball player. He catches your eye immediately in pregame. The way he moves around the field, the bounce, the presentation that he has on the field, like he just looks like a baseball player. The way he, presents himself, taking a cut from the outfield when you're looking at him in pregame, and then just watching the way the arm plays, how his feet work. Like his arm was playing really, really good. It was a plus arm across a diamond. It was playing accurate. He was moving really good, a lot of range, confident hands. It's a natural playing surface. He had a couple errors on the day, like a couple in between hops that you could have either attacked or tried to sat back on, got him in between. So I've seen better looks at Ethan Bass. Like he went on 1 for 4 at the plate with a couple of strikeouts, but I also did see like a hard barrel into left field. There is still a ton to like on Ethan Bass. And then Chase Peterson. He's exactly who he's always been, except he was DHing, wasn't playing the outfield. He's got a little arm thing that he's working through right now. So I know that's been an adjustment for him, just like learning how to DH when you're used to playing the field constantly is an adjustment. But it didn't seem to affect him on this game because he was all over the barrel. Hammered a couple balls. One of them was a 2 RBI single that was really like most of the scoring for Glenbrook North on the day. And just a lot of easy bat speed with balanced approach using the middle of the field. So, I mentioned Ethan Bass as a shortstop. Like it was cool to see him get on the mound because, man, he's got a future on the mound if he wanted it. Like he just got on there and started chucking, and it's a really athletic arm. It's quick, and it's a ton of strikes. Like that shortstop that gets on the mound, like a TJ Jakubowski, like, lot to dream on there if he ever did want to pitch. But 88-90 and did give up a barrel to Johnny O'Brien and stuff like that. But man, plenty to like there. And it's good to get out. Beautiful day. Weather's turning across the state, and a lot more baseball to come.
Yeah, so I was down in Monticello on Saturday morning, and I saw them take on Illinois Valley Central they're from Chillicothe. But one thing about IVC, I did not mention them in that 1A, 2A story that I released last week. I definitely should have because they're definitely one of the probably better 2A teams in this region and probably in the state as a whole. They've got a really good lineup and some arms as well on that team. But IVC ended up beating Monticello 4-0. And really it was a pitching duel throughout. The top of the 7th, Noah Lusher hit a home run. He kind of caught a curveball, kind of hanging curveball, took it over the left field fence. Couple RBIs in that inning from TJ Dennison and then Cole Yates. But no, a couple of nuggets on IVC. Cole Yates was their starting shortstop, and he is going to Heartland. I really loved it in IO. It is athletic. There are actions. He's got a confident glove. Smaller frame, but he has some bat speed at the plate. But I don't know. I feel pretty confident in saying he's probably one of the top 15 defenders at up the middle in the state. It was really, really impressive at shortstop for Cole Yates. And then Braden Coventry is a 2025 for IVC. He was their catcher. He's going to Swick. Really showed a strong arm behind the plate in IO and on some throwdowns to second. He threw a kid out at second. Got a good build too. He led off for them. And then Griffin Landsverk, he's a 2025 going to Carl Sandburg. Played center field and batted 4th for them, but really impressed with his arm. Again, an IO from the outfield. Just really strong on throws to home, and then they had him throwing to third. For Monticello, Eli Kraft, he's their catcher. Long been a fan of Eli. He, to me, looks like one of the best catchers in the state, just defensively. He is blocking it up. The frame itself is just probably 6'2", 6'3" kid, just a lot of strength. He moves around really well back there. He receives really well. He's super flexible and is able to move kind of left to right and block it up. His arm is getting a lot stronger. I know in the past it's maybe been that's kind of been the thing that's been the lightest for him defensively, but it looks like the arm's really starting to play. It's on a line on throws to second, but he's a John A. Logan commit. I think he's at the plate looking like he's cleaned up the swing too a little bit. He's got some juice in the swing. I mean, he was taking some like balls to the right side. He had a single, and then another one that was an out, but it was a hard hit ball. But then honestly, the big thing from the game, a lot of pro scouts were, I shouldn't say a lot, maybe 5-6 pro scouts at this game to check out Ike Young. There were reports that he was up to 97. In this look, he was up to 94, but he is a three-sport athlete, right-handed arm, committed to Illinois, and in my opinion, he's probably one of the state's best arms in that 2025 class. It was very impressive. The frame is like 6'2", 190 pounds now, but it is athletic. There's so much more room to come, and it was a quick arm, really easy, up to 94, sat low 90s, settled kind of 88 to 92, but the slider works in the low 80s. It was up to 85 in the first, and it is swing and miss, very sharp at times, has depth, and then he threw a couple change-ups in the game too at like the low 80s that had fade, but I mean, man, that kid, it was really impressive for me. I didn't really know what to expect going into it. I mean, I saw him last year, and I think he was up to maybe 91, 92 if I remember right, or maybe upper 80s. I can't remember exactly, but it was impressive.
What I love about it, Gavin, it's just like every time we see him, he's better. You know, he just keeps getting better, and there's probably still so much more to come. The fact that he was a two-way guy forever, and I love to hear that, getting in there on Eli Kraft, that he's just continuing to tick up for you, because that he just strikes me as, first off, a great guy, like a great kid, and then just a worker, like a guy that's going to just continue to grind himself into being a good player, and that's what it takes. So, no, those two things fired me up.
Yeah, and one more thing I forgot to mention, Monticello's shortstop, Dawson Geistros, I think is how you say his last name. He's a 2027, hitting the 2-hole, and just thought he was an interesting athlete from that team. I mean, they've got a lot of athletes down there, and at Monticello. Their facilities, too, are really, really nice. If you guys saw the picture from, like, our the initial tweet that I was at the game, like, it's an all-turf field. I know their football field looks really nice back there, too. I think that's all turf. Softball, I believe, is all turf as well. Like, it's a great facility and great athletic complex they have down there in Monticello, and I know we've talked about that before, and St. Joe Ogden's another team in that area, too. But just, yeah, good stuff all around. Was glad I got to see them, and IVC actually had a uncommitted left-handed arm that I'm going to talk about later as my prospect of the week. So I will mention him later in the episode.
You bring up Monticello's facility, and I think it's just something that I'm seeing across the state are these high schools that are really invested in their athletic facilities. Like, there are so many turf fields now, and just nice setups with more to come. Like, I know we recently saw Brother Rice, and they just got a full renovation on their turf, and there's more to come in other places. But that's just something great to see just around the state, are these baseball fields that are getting, a lot of money invested into. No, I know I was up in the Palatine area watching Fremd on Saturday, but Dane Poe was in Central Illinois. There was a little deal going on over at Williamsville High School, where Tremont played Williamsville in the morning, and then St. Joe Ogden played Tremont in a little afternoon get together there. Tremont beat Williamsville 7-1 in the morning. Brady Buth, it looked like, threw a complete game with 5 strikeouts, and then also went 2 for 3 at the play with a double RBI and 2 runs scored and a stolen base. Like, it sounded like it was just kind of the Brady Buth show, and he's going to North Central College. Blaine Williams, catcher, he's been a long time standout for Tremont. He went 2 for 3 with a double, run scored, walk. Braden Saling for Williamsville. Struck out 6 in 5 innings, gave up 3 runs. He's been a guy we've talked about. He's been my prospect of the week here on this a few months back. And then in the afternoon, he saw St. Joe Ogden beat Tremont 8-1. So kind of saw 2 one-sided affairs there. And St. Joe Ogden's, firmly on our follow list here as a team to watch. First off, they're always good, but they've just got a lot of pieces here. And it looked like Parker Fitch threw well for them. 6 2/3. He was 1 out away from a complete game. Gave up 5 hits, no runs, no walks. Like, I think that's kind of been a theme, an awesome theme for us so far today, is just these pitchers that are throwing strikes. And he struck out 10. So big outing there. And then you got Logan Rosenthal, Outfielder there for St. Joe Ogden, went 2 for 4 with a double, 2 runs scored, 2 stolen bases. Nolan Early also had 2 hits, went 2 for 4 with a double RBI. And then for Tremont, just a little standout there for Tremont. Josh Pappenhouse went 2 for 3 with a run scored, and he threw an inning and didn't give up a hit. And Brady Buth also had a hit in that game, as well as Blaine Williams. So Blaine Williams, Brady Buth, 2 good showings for Tremont. And we'll have more Dane Poe reports coming in the near future as well.
And then I was out in Crystal Lake. I saw Crystal Lake Central take on Stevenson. Crystal Lake Central won 6-2, defending 3A state champs. I came away impressed with their squad. Initially, like right away, they took IO pretty early. James Draher, their senior shortstop, going to Whitewater. He's a left-handed hitter, hit leadoff for them, but I really, really liked the glove. It's left side of the infield at the next level. I think he could stick at shortstop. It's a strong arm. He showed range over his shoulder with a catch deep into left field. Got a good read on it. Showed some range. Then he also made a diving stop in the hole. And made a really impressive play with a strong throw across as well. But I was really in, the glove presentation, the footwork, everything looked right. And he's left-handed hitter at the top of that lineup. Compact left-handed swing with quick hands. I liked his at-bats on the day. Just a really impressive prospect that I did not know going into the day. So he's a really interesting name for me. And then Carter Kelly, he's their center fielder. He's going to McHenry County. He showed actions in the outfield as well with a strong arm. He had a hustle double. He was hitting 2-hole for him. He poked one down the line, was thinking 2 right out of the box, got to second, kind of was a spark plug for that inning, got them on the board in the bottom of the first inning. But then he hopped on the mound and closed it out. And he was 83-86 from the left side. And it was actually pretty interesting with the clean arm. That's an interesting 2 they got. I wouldn't be surprised if they let him pitch a little bit at McHenry as well. Then Rhett Osment, their third baseman, I'm actually going to pick him as my prospect of the week. He's uncommitted senior as far as I know right now. So moving down, Connor Gibber, he was in right field for him. He's a senior going to Ohio. He hit a homer, stood out with the bat. I mean, he's long levered with upside. That's kind of what we've known him to be for the past few years, but he was performing on the barrel. He had 2 hits on the day. So good to see him doing well. And then Wade Osment, a sophomore, really looks the part. Every bit of probably 6'3", long levered, ton of upside in the frame. He was in left field, hitting in the 5-hole. He took some really good at-bats on the day, was using the middle of the field, with quick hands through the zone, was on the barrel. It was a good look at him. And then Connor Altergott, just another long levered upside kid to know. He's a right-handed hitter, a junior. Upside swing, he was on the barrel, just an uncommitted name that stood out to me personally. And then they actually started a sophomore on the mound in Danny Adams. He threw 6 innings, scattered 9 hits with 1 earned run, didn't walk anybody, and struck out 4. Then he was working in the low 80s with the fastball. He could pitch. He was keeping him off balance, mixing in a curveball. It was a really, really good game. Came away impressed with him. He's a good arm for them, especially only being a sophomore. And then moving over to Stevenson, Kosuke Sakamoto, he's a senior. He was kind of the story of the day for them offensively. He had 3 doubles. He was their leadoff hitter, left-handed hitter. Kind of a slappy, barrel control type, but he had 3 doubles, was taking great at-bats, could really control the bat, control the zone well as well. And then Frank Costable, he came out of the pen, and he was 89-91. Touching 92 with the fastball, showing a low 80s slider with some sweep, and then a mid-80s changeup that he was throwing with arm speed in the zone. I mean, he's just a freak athlete. He was taking some good at-bats as well. I mean, he's a right-handed hitter. It's a lot more cleaner than I remember it being. Last year it was a little raw. It was definitely more clean, a little more polished. But on the mound, I think that's where the future is going to be. I mean, he plays catch at 89-92. It's super easy. You watch his head, it's not moving at all through his release. It's super low effort. And he's also I think we had him at 90. Did we have him at 100 in a pull down. I can't remember how high we had him, but it was like really impressive. And I know he's told us he's been triple digits for a pull down.
I believe it was like 98 or 99 is what we had him at, Pete.
Okay. Well, in and of itself, that's super impressive. He's just a freak athlete. And I know he's been up to like 103 or something is what he said his max pull down was, which is not surprising at all. Just watching the arm speed and the athleticism he has. But Yunus Hamade, he closed it out for Stevenson. I mean, he's every bit of 6'7". Like, he just towers over you on the mound. It's long levered. It's easy. The fastball, I know when we got him on the track, man, it had some really impressive traits to it, like high spin. And he was 85 to 86 with a ton of extension, plays up with the extension and just the spin on it as well. And he was showing a low 70s curveball. But I think he's a really interesting arm, senior going to Kirkwood. So that's what I had on that, Gav. If we wanted to move on, prospect of the week potentially.
Let's take a look over at prospect of the week.
Yeah.
And Pete, you just want to get in here?
Sure. Yeah, no, I can just keep rolling here. I'll go with Red Osment, like I mentioned. He was their third baseman. Uncommitted from what I could tell, like in his profile, not committed, and then I checked his Twitter, nothing in there. Looks like a high academic 3-sport athlete, and I noticed he actually threw in the state, not the finals, but the game to get them into the finals last year, and he threw a really good game, so I guess he can pitch a little bit, but I came away really liking the glove and the bat. He's a bigger kid, he's probably 6'2", but he's got some muscle throughout the build. Like, he really fills out the uniform, looks the part, but it's not like he's like athletic. And he moves well for his size as well. Like, soft hands, showed me control, like body control on a slow roller. For that size, I thought was really impressive. I just came away liking him. Looks the part. Third baseman all day. And then I really liked the right-handed swing. Super simple, on time, with strength. And he was 2 for 2 on the day. He showed some control of the zone, was not chasing, attacking in the zone. He walked and got hit by a pitch. But like I said, super simple with strength. So high academic, uncommitted name to know.
Yeah, then I can hop in here next. My uncommitted prospect of the week is Noah Fitzgerald out of Lyons Township. I kind of teased this earlier that I didn't want to go too heavy on him from their game against Brother Rice, but showed me all sorts of athleticism at second base, both pregame and during the game. Like, seems like a kid who could probably play shortstop at a lot of other schools. But luckily for Lyons Township, they also got a kid by the name of Blake Ragsdale over there. So he plays second for them, but showing me all sorts of athleticism. Like I said, got a confident glove. I really like the arm too. It's pretty strong for a second baseman. And then he's a right-handed hitter who just puts up scrappy at bats. Kind of seems like a kid to me that, like, I mean, the three of us are pitchers on here. Like, you had certain guys that, like, you didn't really want to face because they're so hard to get out. They, no matter what you're throwing, they like just won't be an easy out for you. So he kind of seemed like he was that type of kid as well. So I was really impressed with Noah. I know we've liked him for a while. I think he showed well this past fall at our unsigned senior showcase. So just a name that needs to find a home. Really like Noah's game.
Yeah, and then my uncommitted prospect is left-handed pitcher Gabe Perez from Illinois Valley Central, 2026. He was pitching in that game on Saturday against Monticello, where they won 4-0. But yeah, he's a mid-80s arm, up to 87 in this game. Showed a quality breaking ball. It was like a 1-7 shape, and yeah, he was just competing. A lot of strikes coming at him with both pitches. I really liked the competitor on the mound. He was kind of one of the more of those like fiery guys. He'd get a strikeout to end the inning, and you come off the mound all pumped up. And I love to see stuff like that. So good stuff there from Gabe. He threw a complete game shutout with 9 strikeouts, a walk, and 3 hits. Love the way that he moved. Really easy, kind of compact arm. He's simple, repeats. But yeah, that's uncommitted Gabe Perez from Illinois Valley Central.
For my prospect of the week this week, guys, I didn't mention him earlier. I just wanted to kind of highlight him on his own. Chase Nelson, Jr., that I got to see for Fremd. Kind of got on our radar this winter at the O'Hare preseason ID. Just like another beautiful thing coming out of the winter is getting to cross-check him, and he was a guy like we had firmly on our list. We ranked him coming off the preseason because like he had a loud performance, like 6.86 runner, 6.85 runner. I'm sorry, he had like a 101, peak exit velocity. So also showed well on the infield in that defensive portion. So it's like, all right, he's checking a lot of boxes. Saw that he was hitting at the top of the order for Fremd as well. So excited to get out and see him. But man, really athletic like his brother. Young look. Like I think there's a lot more to come with the frame. Like he can continue to add strength. Clearly already has some tools though, like and can leverage the baseball if he's peaking at 101 off the bat. Stood out to me defensively. At second base, made every play to him, but also made some like well above average plays look pretty easy. One in particular where he had to dive basically right on top of the second base bag with a guy on first, fielded the ball clean, touched the bag with his glove from a knee, then gets, kind of gets to where he can throw it over to first, gets it enough on it to throw it over to first to complete the double play. It was probably the web gem of the game. And then also had like a couple line drives that were tough plays that he fielded, almost turned a double play on one of them, and then showed some bat speed at the plate and like some leverage. Got on base in his first at bat, barreled a ball hard at the third baseman. To me, it's going down as an E in my book, but a tough play for a high school player to make. And then walked in his second to last at bat, and flew out. But like the swing works, and he's athletic, and he can defend, and the way he runs too, like 6.85 runner, the speed plays on the bases, plays on the field. Just a nice upside prospect there for Fremd, worth mentioning.
And then that rounds out this episode of the Bullpen. Appreciate you guys listening. As always, like, comment, subscribe. Follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And we'll see you next time.